We are recording.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Academy of Knowledge and Creativity, presented to you by Design Team 2.
Developing lifelong learners requires insight and involvement from the community, as well as through self-motivation and exploration. To create a learning environment that honors the intellect and ability of all, we propose pathways upon completion of secondary education to include a diploma, certificate, and apprenticeship, which allows for student-driven career paths and prepares them for the future. Moving forward to the structure of the learning environment, different layers of support are required across the learning process. At the top of the pyramid are principals. While traditional in name, the principals utilize leadership skills founded in Theory U, which has a top-down effect to the other layers of the team. Advisors look to guide and support learners by listening and learning about their personalities and building on strengths. Facilitators develop activities that provide hands-on learning opportunities and engage learners of every ability level. Lastly, institute meetings meet on a monthly basis. They allow conversation and input from all members of the team, as open collaboration is a key to success and growth.
The Academy model schedule is different than the traditional K-12 school schedule and calendar of the 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. school day in September through June months. Here, the Academy schedule will be based on a 5-day a week where learners spend 3 days in a classroom learning theory and 2 days where they are focused on applying theory and hands-on skills while collaborating at the community site. In addition to the calendar, learners will have a full year to complete 1,400 hours of hands-on activities and theory time to advance. Having this time frame will allow learners to not rush through the practical learning experience and use the time to mature in their chosen craft. Instead of the traditional secondary education levels of grades such as 9 through 12, learners will be able to advance through milestones based on their progress of their chosen pathway. The first milestone will be exploratory or the exploration milestone, where the learners will investigate career areas of interest to determine their educational pathway. Once they have chosen their interests, their career interests, learners will be able to advance to the knowledge milestone. With the assistance from facilitators or advisors, the learners can gain practical understanding of the desired career pathway. The next milestone is the intermediate milestone, where the learners can describe and explain knowledge of a skill and can perform that skill set with guidance by a facilitator or advisor. This area will be assisted with the learners going through collaboration businesses that are part of the institution, where they're able to spend their class time in the field. Lastly, learners can advance to the mastery level, where they can describe and fully explain the knowledge of a skill and perform that skill set independently at industry standards and levels of performance. By this time, the learners will be able to advance to taking certificate placement, be a part of an apprenticeship program at that chosen organization or business, and then it will lead into a diploma of advancement.
We believe that in order to achieve success, the learner must be exposed to constant autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Here at the Academy of Knowledge and Creativity, learners are able to select the subjects they want to learn. This allows the learner to successfully complete the secondary education.
Various pathways are available for learners. In the certificate pathway, learners have access to opportunities, academic in nature, while also investigating vocations of interest. The diploma pathway is ideal for learners looking to pursue higher education at various universities. These experiences are rigorous in nature and prepare learners for the challenges of higher education. Lastly, the apprenticeship pathway invites learners to continue their hands-on experiences in the community. Through apprenticeships, learners leave the educational system with a deep connection to the community and applied academics in action.
Unlike the traditional shop class where learners practice skills and theory for a short time in a high school building, at the Academy of Knowledge and Creativity, learners will spend their time at collaborating learning centers to develop their skills in their chosen field. This is taking the real-world learning approach to full effect. With assistance of supporting collaborators of the Academy, learners will spend their practical learning time on-site and work side by side with an on-site advisor. For example, if a learner chooses the auto repair career pathway, they will be shadowing their advisor doing the knowledge milestone. Once the learner has met the required hours to advance to the intermediate milestone, they will be able to perform skills observed with assistance of their advisor. As a learner advances to the mastery level, more time will be spent at the collaborating auto repair center, as the learner will independently repair vehicles with little assistance with their advisor. This real-world experience will not only help learners develop a craft, but will have the learners prepared for jobs upon graduation.
At the Academy for Knowledge and Creativity, we believe in connecting learning with real-world activities that help students see the value and purpose in learning traditional academic subjects such as math, English, and reading.
At the Academy for Knowledge and Creativity, we realize that college may not be an option for everyone. With that in mind, we reach out to local and regional leaders in the business world to give our vocational students the opportunity to learn from experienced members of the business community. We offer several options for vocational learning, including trades, to give our workforce students the opportunity to step into an entry-level position when they graduate from our program. The Industrial Arts Pathway is presented in partnership with the local leader in construction and building supplies, McGraw Home Builders Incorporated. McGraw has been in business for over 40 years and provides experienced mentors for our students. The curriculum includes everything our students need to find an entry-level job in the field, with concentrations in heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration, electricity, carpentry, and plumbing. Students are also taught the basics of the state-of-the-art building software, SuperCAD. The Automotive Arts Pathway is presented in partnership with A&A Auto Stores. A&A is the leading distributor of auto parts in the United States, with service bays at each location. Students have the opportunity to work with a mechanic in both the service area and in the classroom to learn as much as they can in order to be ready for an immediate assistant mechanic position. The Graphic Design Pathway gives students a look into the world of graphic design, digital photography, and web design. Our local design firm, Metcalf & Colley Advertising, is known worldwide for their award-winning presentations. Students who have completed this pathway have gone on to have very successful careers in the field. The Office Technologies Pathway gives students an in-depth view of how office technologies are used in today's business world. We present this program in partnership with Humphrey Office Logistics, the region's best source of office technology training. Students learn how to use spreadsheets, word processing software, presentation software, communication protocols, and current office technologies.
The Academy of Knowledge and Creativity will be a high-tech and modern facility. It will use technology to make the space most efficient. It will also generate its own energy using solar panels or windmills. It will be constructed and operated using green methods and materials. The Academy will have an ultra-sleek and modern design that allows creativity to blossom for learners and facilitators. The space is dynamic and will allow facilitating a variety of subjects. The physical space will include classrooms, workshop and lab spaces, creative spaces for learner collaboration, science, technology, engineering, and math labs, a gymnasium, administrative offices, work-share offices for visiting facilitators, a food court, a performance center that doubles as an auditorium, and a library and virtual learning lab. Here you can see an artist's renderings of the Academy. The first is the streetscape. It's a gathering place for learners. They can chat, collaborate, or work on group projects together. It serves many purposes. Next are the gymnasium and the food court. The Performance Center can hold concerts and assemblies. The general classrooms have mobile furniture that can be reconfigured as needed. And the final picture is the computer lab, which has state-of-the-art computer technology.
On behalf of Design Team 2, we thank you for your time. We also welcome your feedback.
Okay, so feedback to Team 2.
I have more of just a comment than a question. From Team 1, I thought that what you put together, like the concept was similar to ours, but I liked how you had the 3 pathways for the diploma, this I think it was the certificate and the apprenticeship. So I thought that was just, interesting, something different. We didn't think about that kind of like the outcome after the schooling for ours. So I liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Israel. I want to make some comments. Yeah, good job, Team 2. Yeah, I just want to make some comments on the pathways, the learning pathways, the apprenticeship, and the other ones. The 3 should intersect and also be integrated so that the students, when they graduate, they'll be able to function in a multi-dimensional team for creativity and innovation. So they have a little bit knowledge of the apprenticeship knowledge. So what I'm saying that the 3 should intersect and they should be integrated, the curriculum, so that when those students graduate, they'll be able to function in a multi-dimensional creativity or innovation team. That's my own comment.
I thought the same thing as Israel. If I may jump in, I'm Adam. I'm in Team 3. I thought I like there's the 3 pathways, but kind of as students are all kind of unique, that if they could pull certain requirements from each pathway to find a way to graduation or completion, that I think that would be really cool too. I sort of thought the same thing with the milestones. I didn't write down what was on the slide, but there were 4 milestones. I think exploration was the first. And I thought maybe it doesn't have to be so linear, because you sort of are always kind of going back and exploring more. Like I would hate to think of all exploration as done. Like one thing when I went to college, I liked that we didn't have to declare our major until we were juniors. So you had 2 years to sort of explore and take a lot of different courses. And if I had to declare my major earlier on, it would have felt rushed. So I just think it's nice to be able to like kind of move around within the different spaces. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And I have a question, if you guys don't mind. I know your presentation was very, very much like ours. Our themes are very similar. And so this is something I was kind of struggling with in terms of our own school, but for yours, and this can really go to anybody, with mastery, autonomy, and purpose, intrinsic motivation, super crucial, I think, to both of our ideas. So how do you square that with the idea that you're also kind of looking at vocational demands in a way, given your business and vocational partnerships. So, I guess the question here is, how would your school handle a student who is only intrinsically motivated to do something that doesn't necessarily have a specific vocation attached to it, or something of that nature? I hope my question makes sense.
So I think what's interesting about motivation is that, like, the way that we kind of designed our school was that it wasn't necessarily for traditional high school. Like, we kind of opened it up to a space where, like, if special ed kids can go until they're 21, then they're going to sit in there until they're 21. And kind of like Adam said, if they want to explore until they're 19 and a half and just take a bunch of different classes, that's okay. Because I think that, honestly, it's kind of like prompting in education. Like to break a verbal prompting hierarchy in a student is really, really hard. So to develop that kind of intrinsic motivation when a lot of our students have been taught to work for compliance sake is going to be a really different mindset. So I think that's honestly just going to take a lot of time to kind of switch around. But I do like the idea of, I think the more that we have access to, the more likely we are to hit something. I think that this type of idea, kind of similar to your summer, is that your teams, is that it's inclusive, is that this could be for, I always thought of like Common Core when it first came out. I always took it as college or career ready. Like I took it as there are some kids, the world needs plumbers and electricians and painters. And that's a really, really great skill set to have. And I know my building can't run without a custodian, like there are just those kinds of things that I think we wanted to be considerate of including when we think about those milestones. And if kids are ready to leave at 16, they've run their gamut and they're great and they've got hooked up with a career and they're happy, that's great, they can leave. But if they always want to come back, that door always swings open too, which I think is sometimes important, like sometimes like other people have said, what I was interested in at 16 was not what I was interested in at 20. And if I had known that in hindsight, I probably would have made different choices. So we were kind of playing around with that gap in development, in all honesty, of when, you're kind of foundationally making a lot of those choices. Your frontal lobe is still cracking.
Okay, I want to add something. Like what I was saying the other time, if those students that are following the apprenticeship path, if they have some, if they're educated in the knowledge base, like physics, chemistry, and technical design, by the time they pass out from the school, and they are artisans or they're working in the construction industry, they'll be able to relate to the architects because on their own, with what they have learned from school, they can do some personal readings, studies, and research. And then they'll be able to flow with the architects and some other professionals who went for higher ed, who are graduates from universities. They'll be able to relate to them. But if they don't have that basic knowledge where they were in school and they've been separated from, those basic knowledge of physics and some other core sciences, and they are purely focused on hands-on teaching or skills, it will affect them on the long run. So we're looking at a lifetime learning venture.
If I may comment to that, Israel, the intentions was, our intentions were never to have a child select a pathway on day one and then follow that all the way to the end. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out a way to make it visual for everyone to see that a student, as they go through these milestones, can switch from the desire to pursue one of the multiple pathways. The goal is to get them exposed to as much information as possible and make them available to select a pathway at the end when they graduate. So if they start out and they think that they want to become a plumber, and then somewhere along the line, during exploration or even knowledge, they realize that no, they want to become an architect. The curriculum is supposed to be designed in a way that they can switch path and be prepared to be able to enter college if that's where they want to go eventually, or become a plumber if that's what they want to become eventually. They're not set in one single path. Unfortunately, we weren't able to visually bring that out and share it with you guys.
We really kind of scaffolded the way that instruction goes, and that was kind of our thought, like throughout, even though it looks linear in this, the instruction and kind of courses themselves are scaffolded.
Yeah, Yanni, and I see from that graphic, I mean, you can tell the fluid nature of the program. I picked that up right away. I thought it was depict it quite well. And I was just wondering if in your conversations, it came up with our group in the beginning. Did you talk at all about like trying to break that stigma that's always been associated with like VOTEC type tracks?
We did not discuss that. Unfortunately, we did not. But I guess that's going to be on our to be discussed list next time. Thank you.
Yeah, I have some, I'm going to pose some questions to this team, not to answer now, but I want you to think about it. And that was why I was going to ask you, why are you locking yourself into traditional breakdown of vocational and academic? I think that's important to think about. And as I was watching, and the other thing is, why are you locked into 1,400 hours? You know, the concept of seat time, because that brings back images of seat time. So if you think in Pennsylvania, you got to be in high school 990 hours. A lot of people say as long as we block ourselves into the concept of seat time, which is always looked at by the state saying you have X number of hours in there, whether or not that's important anymore. The other thing I'm thinking about is, all right, in your automotive component, how are you going to deal with driverless cars? How are you going to deal with driverless trucks? How are you going to teach around those types of concepts within the same thing in your business environment? All of the data is saying that many of those courses that we traditionally have right now will no longer be necessary because it's going to be all automated anyway. So the question is, in terms of business and understanding the pathway, the working in business and entrepreneurial, how will you address these emerging trends that are saying that these traditional jobs are no longer going to be available? And that, and it was funny, I was listening to, well, being a plumber and architecture, I was wondering, how does architecture and plumbing come together in letting a person develop some type of concept that blends those together? You know, it's something to think about, you know, going forward to break out of the traditional molds that we have, because what you want to try to envision is something that's going to take into consideration these trends that are emerging, you know, as it relates to technology. And then the last one I'm going to say is, why in the world do you still have computer labs? So just throwing those questions out, not to answer, but just to kind of stimulate your thinking about that structure. Where does it go? You know, will it reinforce traditionally what we have, or do we need to use different language? And when you use different language, that then changes the dimension on how we look at that learning space. So that's just something I want your team to think about. Okay?
Thank you.
Other questions for this team? Comments? Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording, and then if